Good celebration day, everyone. It's office hours, celebratory style. I am here with my mentor in the incredible Blaine Bartlett. I call him the double B, BlaineBartlett.com. And as he will find out, we are here for the 600th episode. And that's why Blaine and I look the way that we do. We are not 25-year-old life coaches, although I appreciate 25-year-old life coaches and the courage that they must have to be a 25-year-old life coach. Blaine and I have been around for at least 600 episodes of Office Hours. So we actually, I look older than I am. Blaine obviously looks much younger than he is. He was around with Marcus Aurelius and others, Livingston, etc. But by the grace of God and the grace of Office Hours, our first guest is aligned with Blaine's mission, especially Grace-Hawthorne. Welcome to the 600th episode of Office Hours.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much for having me. It is my honor and pleasure.
Well, it's an honor to have you. I talk about nothingness, that most people live their life like tubes, food in and food out each day, because they don't know what they want, who they can help, who can help them, and how to get what they want or better, because they don't know what's important to them. They don't know their values. They don't know how to prioritize, so they feel overwhelmed or procrastinate. And so possibilities are really important. And you can see the tagline, which is up there, even though you're not usually here, moving possibilities into reality. And it's possibilities, probabilities, perspective, and reality that Blaine and I discuss all the time. Obviously, as a very respected adjunct professor at the school that rejected me twice, my dream school, still my favorite school, Stanford University. Grace, just so you know, John Hennessy, I told him that I was rejected twice. My brothers, Stanford was their second choice, and they did that to rub it into me. One went to Harvard and one went to Penn. So I asked John to give me an honorary doctorate from Stanford, and he told me I couldn't handle. He told me I couldn't handle the workload for an honorary degree. So I guess I've been rejected 3 times now from Stanford, but I get as well to speak there. And but I really want to talk about your book. And it is much needed in our mission. We need people to think about, with wisdom and faith, make possibilities happen. And if we can get this book of yours into everyone's hand, we can change the world. We really can.
Yes.
And I appreciate it. You know, I forget who said it, right? It just takes a small, I think Wayne Dyer taught me this. It takes just a few small group of people with good intentions that can change the world. And we got 3 of them right here. Yeah. What was your inspiration to take the time to talk about and to teach how to make possibilities happen?
I feel like this concept of making possibilities happen probably started when I was a little girl, because I am the daughter of immigrants. So both my parents came here in their early mid-20s. My dad was getting a master's. He actually went to Cal, and go Bears, even though, by the way, I was also rejected by Stanford twice, but I teach there. So there you go. I know. In any case, when you start with nothing and you can create a wonderful, beautiful life and family for yourself, that just shows that anything is possible. And to me, I think that's what makes me want to be an entrepreneur, or why I love being an entrepreneur, because it's this idea of creation. I like what you said earlier, this idea of faith. You have to have a faith. When we say faith and you say faith, I don't think of religion. I think of a belief. And that belief could be in yourself or in the larger universe. And you have to have that belief in something larger than yourself. Otherwise, you will not persist through the difficult times of accomplishing anything or that your heart's desire. You're not going to get through it if you don't have that faith. I think that's really important. Don't you guys?
Oh my God.
Grace, absolutely.
I always tell people it's something bigger than me, loves me more than my mom. It's that simple.
Yeah. I love that. That's a great way to put it. Grace, it's great to see you again.
I know. Really nice to see you again.
Yeah, I was delighted to see that you were going to be on this episode. You know, just the serendipity is wonderful here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this notion of creativity. I mean, just in one sense here. You know, Stanford did a decades-long research project, I think, around creativity and whatnot that you were involved with. Yeah, the idea of faith. You know, the belief in the unseen.
Yeah.
Yeah, and holding that belief in the unseen until it can come into reality. You know, there's a manifestation conversation there. But with the study that you were involved with at Denver, at the D.school,
Yes.
what were some of the highlights of that for you, and how did it find its way into your book?
So thank you for asking that, because this book is kind of a capstone midlife book report, I guess, a midlife report. I'm probably the same age as you guys ish. And I look back.
Thank you so much.
Yes, I
No,
will say thank you.
So it's about 15 years of teaching in the classroom, over 25 years in the entrepreneurial trenches, and this 10-year, decade-long research project. And basically, from teaching creativity, just to headline, the study started when a brain surgeon who was a student in my class at the end of the quarter said, "Hey, Grace, is my brain different?" And I said, "Of course, you just took this class. Your brain is definitely different." He's like, "No, is my physical brain different?" And I'm like, "You're the brain surgeon. I'm not. You tell me." And it was such a pure inquiry. And that pure curiosity led to this research study that the D.school did in conjunction with the School of Med. The two questions we asked were, one, can you teach creativity? The answer is yes. The second question is creativity acquired knowledge like riding a bicycle? Because once you know how to do that, you don't have to relearn that. The answer to that is no. Creativity is a muscle. It's a muscle that is inside our heads. So just like your core, your stomach is good for sit-ups and good posture and any sport you might engage in, or just sitting up straight, your brain is like your core. Creativity is your strength, and you need this, and it's limitless. Between our two ears, we have every resource we need to shape the future that we want. It's our thinking, it's our capacity, and it's limitless. And that's mind-blowing to me. And the study proved that by exercise, you can rewire your brain and increase that capacity.
Love it.
And just to finish up real quickly, in that creativity lies this stream of consciousness, separating the mind and the brain as an organ. And I love thinking about my mind streaming information and the ego buffering that information to help others, especially the newer and younger generation, understand how consciousness and co-creativity work. And the two components or capabilities, we talked about faith, but the other one's wisdom. And as a professor at, the most notable, prestigious university that rejected us both twice, how have you communicated effectively to the younger kids, although you deal with kids from 6 to 99 plus, but usually even at Stanford, they're below 30 most of the time. How have you been able to communicate this idea of co-creativity, utilizing not only their faith and giving them hope and beliefs, but actually giving them constructive wisdom that it takes? A lot of times it's not what that we say as older people, but it's what they hear. And I'm really working on making sure that these younger individuals hear what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so I feel like that I have a two-part answer to that. So this idea of wisdom, there's information, there's knowledge, and there's wisdom. And to me, information is kind of like the bottom. It's like what's on the ground. It's everything we scroll and swipe through. That's kind of meaningless. Just because you know something doesn't mean that you're activating it or you know how to use it or put it to good use. So so that's information. Then there's knowledge. So you're aware of how you can put it to good use. So when you actually activate it, that experience becomes a part of you. That becomes part of the fabric of who you are, and that's when it becomes wisdom. And when I outline that, it's not about, you could be a genius and you live in a closet and you're not doing any good for the world, right? So, but if you have any iota of gumption of taking action, which is why I really emphasize the bias to action, you can change the world. And the second thing, I kind of distilled this, I want to say a couple days or maybe a week ago, the two headlines, I feel like if I were to just give two takeaways from the book or from Creative Gym, one would be bias to action, because without action, ideas are meaningless. Nothing happens, right? The second thing is cognitive flexibility. We have to have the ability to go from the meta to the micro, from the abstract to the concrete, to, you know, express ourselves in multiple ways and multiple mediums. And our ability to see what is imagined and what is real, that's cognitive flexibility. And all of that feeds into kind of what we're talking about, which is creation, life creation, and faith. And Einstein was the one who coined it, like however many years ago. Matter, thoughts are energy, period. I mean, we're not making this up. A very famous, notable scientist said that, right?
I am a
Yep.
student of Einstein, and Walter Isaacson did a great job of helping to enlighten many about Einstein. So if you haven't read any of Walter Isaacson's depictions, especially of Einstein, Jobs, Musk, Ben Franklin, and many others, you're missing out. But we are graced, as I said, on our 600th episode to have Grace Hawthorne. Please promise us you'll come back. We have many other shows. She's an entrepreneur, creativity professor, researcher at Stanford University, and a dear friend of our show, all aligned with a mission of taking possibilities, making them probabilities, creating a perspective to make it your reality. Thanks, Grace, for gracing us.
Thank you, you guys. Thank you very much.
You bet, Grace. Good to see you again.
Yeah, good seeing you. Bye.
Bye. All right. Waiting in the wings on our 600th episode. I'm at the Masters here. Come and join us if you are around. We had an extraordinary night last night with John Daly and Josh Miranda. We're on to Josh Allen coming up. So we got all types of different successful individuals in their own right. Speaking of successful individuals in his own right, Gary Cox is in the house. Welcome, Gary.
David, good to see you, man. Welcome. Welcome. Thanks for the welcome, I should say.
Yeah,
Blaine, how are you?
Thank you. Thank you. And Gary has notably worked with so many different individuals, corporations, and athletes. And I have a saying, enjoy the consistent every day, persistent without quit, pursuit of your potential. And when I think of people who assist people in doing that, I think of Gary Cox. Gary, how important is the consistency part of breaking through our own self-image?
Well, I think, David, consistency is so important because it's like compound interest, right? It seems like a little bit amount, you know, but it just adds up. And there's so many things that we don't even realize that adds up due to consistency. And the compound action that you build up from years or weeks or months, depending on what the project is, it's a major complete difference compared to somebody who just taps on something once in a while and decides to you just give up. And I know for me, I've been incredibly consistent and tenacious in my goals and all the problems I've been through. And there's no question about it. It definitely stands out from those who don't.
Well, speaking of standing out, is that Winnie or tequila on your shoulder?
You know, my little butt. This one's tequila. This is tequila this morning. Tequila is the calm one. Tequila can hang with me for a little while. Winnie cannot.
Oh,
Yeah, that's good. Oh, did Blaine freeze? Oh, he was too busy.
Yep.
All right, I'll take it over here.
Oh, there we go.
Go ahead, Blaine.
Apologies for that. Yeah, my island internet connection just went south.
I was gonna say
Blaine's
so calm. Blaine's, you know, like tequila. I'm like Winnie. So he was so calm. He just, stoic genius. But anyway, go ahead, Blaine.
Yeah, the TV shows that you've done, I know that NBC spent over $1 million just producing some of your segments, Dr. Phil's The Doctors and that sort of thing. Some of the stuff that you talk about, and I'm very interested in the phrasing on this, is changing negative cycles of thinking into positive programmed conditioning. I mean, there's an alliteration there, but in your own experience, Gary, how have you actually managed to, number one, move into working with that, but also communicating it in a way that people can digest it and use it?
Well, the digest and use part, I think, is really good because you can't, you hear people often say, change your story, change your life. Well, that's not really true, because if I say I can't, and you say to me, Gary, say you can. Well, I can keep saying I can, but if I still believe I can't, then I still can't. And excuse me, I'm speaking from experience, because if I could share my story, I was very successful as a teenager, making over $100,000 a year in my second business. I had got married, and my wife and I, we have a baby, and she tells me it's not mine. My world started changing upside down really fast. Then my father was murdered. Grandfather and stepfather died of cancer. My uncle was killed in a plane crash. All this, Blaine, by the time I was 21 years of age. And then I was unfortunately born and raised in a cult, left that about 15 or so years ago. And everybody in that occult, that's your so-called friends and family, are programmed to shun you and treat you as if you're dead for life. So as I started figuring out, which also put me in another tailspin of $350,000 in debt, because I wasn't able to function. I thought it was going to be, well, not quite so hard, but it was pretty difficult. And I wanted obviously to get through that. And I knew I'd been successful once before. So I knew I was fortunate I had something to look back on. If I did it once, I can do it again. But my problem was I saw too much of this pump up, rah, you can do it, you're great, you're wonderful. And that's nice that somebody thinks I'm great and wonderful, but that doesn't give me the how. And I want to know the how. So I started figuring out, okay, if I were to create a program, and I have a 4-step process. Like when somebody brings me on stage, I have a program where I program somebody without hypnosis live on stage. And I became my own doctor and my own patient, Blaine. What I said is, okay, if I have this problem and I need to get over to this and make this happen, what would go on in my head? What do I have to do? And I would figure out what I did and I would jot it down. And then I created a program on that. Then I applied it to people, and then I saw their results. But I'm obsessed with speed. And I want to get things done quickly, like most of us do. I'm inherently a very impatient person. I have to work on that. So when I take my clients, and I don't say this arrogantly, I'm known for doing in an hour what therapists or consultants can't do in a year. And I prove that. And that's what I did 3 years on Dr. Phil's show, The Doctors, where I take people who are traumatically, phobic or have been in trauma, and they've been in therapy for 10 or 20 years, and I'm able to reverse them and help them in a session. And that helps us understand how powerful the mind is. Stop and think about this for a moment. If you've ever been nervous or scared or phobic, just the thought of something you're phobic of creates sweat in your palms, gets your heartbeat to double. And now that's on the negative side. Imagine if we had the power, which we do, to harness the opposite of that. We would sleep better. We would have less stress, would have less mental challenges. I mean, there are so many things that we can do. And that's what I like to focus in, because I really believe that most of us don't really tap in to how powerful the human mind is.
Yeah. Beautiful. Thank you.
So powerful. And I love seeing those segments as well. One of the things that I'm working on today, which I think is the biggest blockage, energy suck, interference between people and their potential to finish up, is the difference between knowing who I am and worrying about what I want people to think I am. So we stand in front of cars we don't own. We stand in front of houses we don't own. We post things that aren't true. And there's a huge energy.
I really am flying the jet, David. I promise. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. And I love the fact that you're a helicopter and jet guy like me. Although after, unfortunately, Kobe's incident, my wife has nixed helicopters from my future. but also love being up in the air no matter what. I told my wife, I'd rather be angry on the ground than scared up in the air. So don't worry.
Right.
I'm very patient. But more importantly, this energy gap, and you deal with it a lot.
Yeah.
In fact, you wrote your first book, Don't Let Others Rent Space in Your Head, which comes from that idea, as I'm worried about what other people think. How
Sure.
can we help? You're an expert in doing with speed. How can we help people close that gap between who I am and what I want people to think I am?
As crazy as it sounds, David, I think most people make decisions based on what other people are thinking about them, and they don't even know they're doing it. Stop and, I mean, for those of you listening, if you're honest with yourself, you cannot change what you don't acknowledge. So you got to first acknowledge it. So, and let's acknowledge and try to figure out, okay, the next move I'm making here, or that car I want to buy, or that house, or that pair of shoes, or whatever. I purposely drive a 300,000-mile car, specifically not to let that crap get in my head, because I really don't care what other people think, within reason, obviously, right? But stop and think about, okay, what decisions am I really making here that are based on what other people think, or what I think other people think of me? And when you were able to identify that, and then say, oh, I was going to make this decision based on that, I'm not going to, that is freedom. That's huge emotional freedom, because now you're doing things based on what you truly want to do. You cannot have emotional freedom, and even financial freedom, but more so emotional freedom, if you're constantly doing things based on what you think other people think of you. I mean, that's why, I mean, you look at people, oh, is my clothes right? Is this look right? It's overboard. We're into me way too much. And it's a human desire. It's a natural human tendency. But man, we released a lot of that junk when we have changes and know how to get rid of that. Freedom is just unbelievable emotionally.
You help so many people live and break through into that freedom, the freedom of choosing from the options, opportunities, and touches of favor in an abundant, infinite, unified system of thought that we live in. We love in you, Gary Cox, at our 600th episode of Office Hours. Check him out at Gary Cox, COXE, by the way, .com. An amazing inspiration catalyst to being our best selves, whether it's the books that he writes, the segments that he gives, the content that he shares. He's here to empower others to be their best. You must have a desire to be what you must be, but it takes people like Gary Cox to help you get there. Gary, please promise us you'll come back. We need more of your wisdom and your light. Enjoy your cockatoos, and we'll see you soon. Thanks for joining us.
Gentlemen, thank you. Looking forward to it. I appreciate the time today.
Thanks, Gary. Great to meet you.
See you soon. Congrats. Oh, wow. Such a genius and expression of God. All right. Our final friend here is starting with an F. Ferris Alhello is here. Welcome, Ferris. How are you?
I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
Doing good.
We're doing terrific. I'm at the Masters, so there's like none others. I've been trying to coax Blaine Bartlett into coming to the Masters with us. We had an extraordinary, still having it, mastermind, an experiential one with the place that they say is like none other. And after going to almost every major sporting event in the world, I will promise you it never disappoints. I can't oversell the Masters. That's probably why I love it so much. But you are the CEO and co-founder of Startup with Ferris, and you have helped so many companies grow and scale from zero into 8 figures, and have worked with over 150 founders to do so. First of all, welcome to Office Hours, Ferris.
Thank you so much again. Appreciate it. Looking forward to it.
And look, the biggest challenge that people have in growing a business is they attach themselves to outcomes and then they quit. They attach their emotions to outcomes that are unrealistic and they quit. And they don't focus in on what really it takes to grow a business. So I was hoping from your vast experience that you could help to elevate the awareness for people who are starting a new business, scaling their business with a startup. What are some of those key things that we should be focusing in on to scale our business instead of attaching our emotions to, I'm going to be acquired by Google?
So I think I like one of the quotes by Phil Knight, the founder of Nike. He says, something to the effect of you grow or you die in life or in business. And I think having that mindset of growth, personally, um, when you start a business, you might be putting, thinking like it's an 8 to 5 thing. You're working maybe 8 hours a day. I think a lot of founders don't understand what it takes to grow a business, because you're not only learning and mastering your subject, your domain knowledge, be it accounting, be it coaching, whatever the case might be, but you also you have to learn sales, marketing, HR, back office, all of that, and then you still have to go out there and learn how you have to deliver. You have to, as the business is growing, what got you to maybe $100,000, it's probably not going to get you to $500,000 of annual revenue. What got you to the first million is not going to, get you to 2 million in revenue. So I think that mindset of growing and learning is maybe, people maybe might attend a lot of webinar seminars, they might attend courses, they might watch a lot of things on YouTube, but they don't, I think, apply as much of it. So I think that mindset of a growth, and both personally and also professionally, is maybe understated, underemphasized, and that's something I always remind entrepreneurs of.
Ferris, I love this notion of growth. One of the things about growth is it can be unbalancing, when I'm growing, because I'm trying, and there's some equilibrium that comes into play as I start taking on a new form, or I start adding things and dismissing things. So I have to find my center again. There's a new center that begins to emerge. And I know you study Aikido. And when I lived in Japan for about 5 years, and I studied Aikido when I was there as well.
Nice.
And I remember a randori that we were involved with, and I was watching my sensei, who was this little wisp of a man. He's about 78 years old and was maybe 5'2" tall, and he looked like Baryshnikov or Nureyev in the middle of this randori when everybody's coming at him. And after the class, I said, "Sensei, how do you maintain center all of the time?" And he said, I'll paraphrase here, grasshopper. Yeah, and no, I don't maintain center all the time. I know where my center is, and I can come quickly back to it.
Yeah.
Which is the point of resourcefulness.
Absolutely.
So in the work that you do, if I was to ask Ferris, and I said, I'm feeling off balance here. Things are just kind of feeling out of control. Everything is coming at me like it would in a randori. How would you work with me to reestablish my sense of center so that I was able to be more resourceful?
Yeah, so many thoughts here come to mind, but that's why we train. That's why we practice in business, just like Aikido, just like any other maybe art or any other system. There are different muscles I think you have to grow. So, for example, if you fail, and for the entrepreneurs out there, it's not about an if, it's a when. We will fail, whether it's the first pitch, whether it's the first marketing campaign, whether it's the first hire. So learning, I think, how to get back quickly on your feet. And in Aikido, one of the first things, I'm an assistant instructor these days, and one of the first things we teach students who come in is how to fall and how to get up. Whether it's a back roll or a forward roll, you will be thrown around the mat there. But in business, maybe figuratively, you'll be thrown around. A customer will reject you. Another customer will reject you. But you have to get back on your feet. It's not easy. It's not hard. And I think we have this, I don't want to say this culture, but if you go on YouTube and search, you can be a millionaire over maybe not over a day, but over a few months, you can make $100,000 a month. I think people underestimate what it takes to really master or learn a domain and be able to learn from these failures and get back on their feet. It's resourcefulness, as you mentioned, or maybe also resilience. I think that's also another thing that I hear a lot from founders. I in my case, I didn't know how to do sales when we first started our first business. I had 5 rejections. The very first day we went out, to pitch our services. It was devastating. It was okay. It was, I almost cried at the end of the day, but then I had a young family to feed and to support, and a business to grow. And in a couple of days, when we went back at it, and we learned it. So,
yeah, it's amazing when you think of things in terms of Blaine Bartlett, for the sake of what terrifies us most, we can become experts at. And some of the expertise that you have working with startups is business planning, industry trends, financing and accounting, and even marketing and sales, despite your rough beginning in that space and expertise. Out of those four, business planning, industry trends, finance, accounting, and marketing and sales, which one do you see with the people you work with to be the biggest challenge, if any? And which one do you think is most important for a startup?
Yeah, thank you. Great question. I think the same answer to both is, I think, sales. So a lot of the founders I speak with, and on the average, I'm speaking with 1 or 2 founders a week. They're masters of their domains. Maybe you've been in the industry for 20 years, and healthcare, and you know how to do billing systems, and you want to start your own consulting company, and you've done this for years, and you know it, but you haven't done any sales. And people are very reluctant to maybe go out and speak with people there, especially if they're technical. They're sort of focused on doing things and not being out there. So I think learning sales is important, and it's a learnable skill. And then being out there networking, you got to meet people. You got to put the hours. You got to go and practice your pitch, practice in front of a mirror, practice with your spouse, practice, in your car while you're driving. It becomes easier. It's, again, a muscle that you have to grow. So I think that is, without sales, back to the growth concept, without sales, you really can't have a business. You can't grow. And as you establish your business, and as we started selling to small and mid-sized businesses later, as we became Google certified partners, leads from Fortune 500 came in and fumbled big time on so many levels. But hey, we learned from that, and we ended up becoming one of the top 3 or 4 certified partners globally in the area of analytics. And again, all of that with a lot of failures, but we were learning from those failures. So sales, whether you're selling to small and mid-sized businesses initially, and then later you're going to larger businesses, it's something you have to kind of do and learn and read about and really, really master to be able to grow and move from maybe 7 figures to 8 figures.
Great.
I agree with you immensely, as I've been practicing on that journey for 35 years to articulate quantitative value to exceed what we're asking for, regardless of your subject matter or topic expertise. We still need to communicate that value to exceed what we're asking for. And that's what Ferris Hello will do for you. Please reach out to Startup with Ferris, startupwithferris.com. Thank you so much. We have other shows, Ferris. We'd love to have you on, and would love to see you in person as well. Thanks for joining us on the 600th episode of Office Hours.
Congratulations. Thank you so much for having me. If you're ever in the Bay Area, let me know. I'd love to meet you as well.
Great.
Absolutely.
Thanks,
you.
Ferris.
All right. We did it. We're here at the Masters, everyone. And I am with my mentor. I will tell you that one story about your sensei, about knowing where your center is, was a catalyst for my intention about shifting the paradigm of I am, what am I doing to interfere with it? And yes. I am at center, I am at ease, I am at peace, I am at joy, I am at happiness, I am at wealth, I am at worthiness, are all mantras of mine. But to understand what I'm doing to interfere with it and how quickly I can get back to I am, not this is what I want people to think I am. And that's my takeaway for the day, leading into the double B, Blaine Bartlett. Obviously his expression of God, his genius precedes, and also we all are blessed to be a witness and a participant in. Blaine, what's your takeaway of the day with these fantastic friends of ours?
Well, yeah, beginning with Grace, which was a delightful surprise. I've had her on my Solo Business podcast, and we just had an incredible conversation. And the idea of imagination, creativity, and it all comes out of knowing where my center is. I'll just literally land there, because Yeah, imagination is the threshold to the spirit, as far as I can tell. And spirit is where center lives. So being able to, in the use of I am, yeah, anything that follows that word or that phrase, yeah, Yahweh, I am, it drops me back into center. You know, if I'm working it effectively, it's not right or wrong, good or bad, but if I know how it works, there can be magic in that. And when I land into that center, that's the only place that I'm truly resourceful. It's omnidirectional at that point. I can move in any direction. Yeah, if I land in the center. So centering, yeah, if you don't know how to center, find a way to find out how to center.
Multiple ways to do that, as well as you have utilized meditation and Aikido and multiple different mindset development, personal development opportunities that lie within our friends today. And my mentor, Blaine Bartlett, by BlaineBartlett.com, 600 episodes. The days are long, but the years are fast. And we appreciate you and helping me build the biggest and most and longest running show here on the multi-platform aspect of what we do. So Blaine, thank you so much. We will see you next week. Come and make a promise that you'll be at the Masters with me next year.
Yeah. Hey, sign me up. I promise. We've got SoFi on Tuesday, and then you and Julie and Cynthia and I are having dinner on Tuesday evening. So I'm looking forward to that.
If we don't do the show, we won't get anything done. So it's always a great touch point to know what I'm doing. So you are better than my alerting system. So thanks, Blaine. I appreciate you.
You bet. Take care, buddy.
I love you. All right. Speaking of which, yes, Blaine knows where I'm supposed to be next Tuesday. I have no idea because I'm at the Masters, living in the present, but I do have an alerting system, a community of people who want to help each other and know people that can help each other. So if you want to know and meet us at SoFi, I will be there. If you want to be in Vegas, I'll be there. If you want to be in Utah, I'll be there. If you want to be in Phoenix, I'll be there. I'm in 200 cities booked this year, moving and grooving around the greatest events with the greatest people and the greatest charities in the world, being which is the unstoppablefoundation.org. Help me, help others, build a legacy that you'll never forget, and it will never end in the infinite, abundant, unified system that we all belong to. So please join our community, 949-298-2905. If you'd like to join us, you can email me as well. We have free Friday trainings. We have our Monday networking group and one-on-one help that I can give you. We have our free book, free gratitude challenge, free exercises and guides on all 4 of those areas, by the way, that Ferris helps you with. So if you need assistance in business planning, industry trends, finance, accounting, marketing, and sales, I'm happy to be of service and of value. David at dmeltzer.com. I just want to thank my entire team, some who have been with me since episode number 1, for the 600 episodes of Office Hours, the over 1,800 episodes of the playbook, over 4,000 interviews, approaching 5,000 interviews in person, on the phone, via Zoom, via StreamYard, via all the platforms. We are blessed to meet so many great people and have them in our community. Your frequency is your neighborhood. Go ahead, tune into this frequency and join our neighborhood. Most importantly, be more interested than interesting. Be kind to your future self and do good deeds. We'll see you tomorrow. Have a great day.